All right, this is part 2 of the storm shelter. And before we get started, I just want to say a couple things. After the first video, had lots of comments and stuff like that, and I guess I did everybody a disservice by saying this is a storm shelter. I'm going to rephrase that, and I'm going to say this is a place to seek shelter. In the Midwest, we get high winds sometimes. There's tornadoes here and there, so most people have a basement, and that's where they seek shelter. Being that my house and garage are all on a slab, I wanted a place that was safer than on the main floor, because let's be honest, if a tornado comes straight through here, right over my house, it's going to be gone, and I want to make sure there's a place where I can get under the ground, my family can get under the ground, and be safe. Now, is there a chance that it could be so bad that it could pull this whole thing right up out of all the frame and everything right out of the ground? I suppose that could happen. But this is how I've lived my entire life, in going to the basement when there's high winds or bad storms. So I'm comfortable with my family having this as a place to seek shelter if there's a bad storm. So I did some things to this storm shelter that are going to make it pretty strong. Everything, all my joists, I have 3/4 inch plywood nailed down with ring shank nails, which my in-floor heat tubing runs through, which I'll show you. And then I overlaid it again with 3/4 inch plywood and ran 3-inch screws down into all the joists. So there's 1.5 inches of plywood screwed down to all these joists, locking this whole thing together. Then where all this bottom plate is, I ran screws up into each joist. And then I haven't installed them yet, but I have metal hurricane brackets that will be bolted to the concrete and then bolted to this whole floor system. Let me see if I got them here. So I have these metal plates, and there will be a series of these going along the outside, like so, bolted to the concrete and then lagged to the joist. So this whole floor system will be locked down, and it's screwed together, and it'll be bolted down to the concrete wall. So I'm pretty comfortable with that withstanding most storms, and if it sucks that up, then I guess God just said it's my time, my family's time to come home. So a couple other things that people ask is, why didn't I put a seal along the bottom? And the reason I didn't do that is because this is completely encapsulated in the garage, so I'm not worried about wind and everything. Even the back side here, you can see, is inside the walls. This whole floor system is inside the walls, so I'm not worried. I'm not worried about air coming through there or not. And I think eventually, if I ever get to the point where I finish that, I'm going to have it all spray foam, so that'll seal it all up anyway. And then another concern people had were the windows I had down there. And most basements have egress windows, and that's where we seek shelter. My plan is to build some sliding doors that go over those to protect against glass break. But I also have 6-foot window wells, which you can see out there, that will completely protect the windows. And if the house collapsed on top of here, I can potentially have another way out by going through the windows. So if it's that bad, I'll just be thankful I'm alive and my family's alive. But I'm pretty confident the way I built this and the way that I made this whole floor system one solid unit, and it's going to be bolted to the concrete, that it's going to be able to withstand some pretty rough storms. I'm pretty excited about this. This is the way I wanted to do it. I'm going to go through how I ran my in-floor heat in here. But anyway, I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks. I had a lot of great comments, a lot of good questions. I'm going to get back to work on this storm shelter. I want to finish this up today. I mean, I'm not going to get the walls up, but I want to get this floor finished so I can put all my storage stuff down below. I finished up the stairs yesterday. But as you can see right here, I got 2 radiant heat tubes popped up here, and I did that so I could add radiant heat in here. So I'm going to go ahead and run my tubing. And kind of my plan with this is I'm gonna mark out 12 inches on center and run the loops back and forth on here. Put in 3/4 pieces of 3/4 inch plywood in there, and then I'll overlay full sheets of plywood. And my goal with this is for it to obviously heat the room up above eventually, but also give some heat for the downstairs. I know heat will rise, but this is a small enough space, and I have this on its own loop so I can adjust the heat and the flow and all that of this one independently, because eventually my goal is to make this like a man cave, like hunting room, office type thing, and I just want to have the option to do it. So you can see all I'm doing is I'm ripping this old plywood to lay between the PEX tubing, which will get me high enough to lay full sheets of plywood over and give me a nice smooth floor. So there's lots of ways you can do this. They actually make plywood with grooves in it and everything, but I had the plywood. I'm sure some of you are wondering why I would do it this way. I know it takes more time and effort, but I have the material. I'm repurposing it, and in the long run, I'm getting more out of my money. So I'm happy doing it this way, and I think it's going to turn out awesome. So I'm just going to keep. Today, we're going to be framing up walls on this storm shelter. And as I go through this whole project, framing up this pole barn, there's going to be different, I'm going to frame up different portions of it differently because how I'm going to finish it is going to be different. So in this case, on this storm shelter, on the outside of it, I'm going to finish the entire inside of the garage in steel. So I need horizontal boards to attach my steel to. So this wall that I'm laying out right here, I got my bottom plate here laying here, which I'll start marking out. On the outside of it, I'm going to have horizontal plates. But on the inside, the way I'm going to finish it, I need vertical. So I'm going to frame up a normal wall, but put 2x6s on the outside. Or 2x4, sorry. 2x6 would be a little bit overkill for what I need. So I decided I wanted this door. So I got a garage door here. I can back my truck in, and then I can have the door going into the storm shelter lined up right here. So this will be my bottom plate. That'll be my top plate. I transferred all my marks onto both of them. So I got them all marked for my studs. And I want this wall to be load bearing so that eventually I can put some storage up above. And there's going to be a wall that runs all the way down along. So I do want it to be load bearing just to help support that up there. I have to do some additional framing on those once I build that storage up there. Alright, I got this first wall all nailed together, and I have no idea if I'm going to be able to lift it or not. It's pretty big. I could always cut it in between that door and then patch it back together, but we'll see if I can't lift it up. Alright, well I got it. It's about probably my max. It's a 20-foot 2x6 wall. But it wasn't too bad once I got it past that balancing point. But I just threw a couple of 2x6s into that bottom of that truss so it can't tip over either way. And now I can get it fine-tuned down here at the bottom. And then nailed in. And I'll nail it in so... Alright, so we built this wall here on the ground, lifted it up. These side walls, I really won't have the room because I'll hit my window, the edges of my windows if I build them in here and lift them up. And I just have too much stuff over there, so we're just going to build them in place. And the way I do that is I got my bottom and top plate laid out. I actually fastened the bottom plate down, transferred my marks onto the top plate, and then I got one end board put in here. And that one was easy because I could fasten it to that other wall. This one, I just braced it right here to hold it up. Now I'm going to put the top plate across, and then I'll cut the other studs, and I'll just work my way across as I do it. So it's a little more work that way, but I just have too much stuff and it would take too long to move it all, so I'm just going to do it this way. Alright guys, that's a wrap for part 2 of framing up the storm shelter. The next thing that I'll bring to you is the steel. I've been working on the steel the last couple days, made some good progress. I got a few tips and tricks for you in that video. But I'm going to work on it for the next couple days and see what I can't get done before Christmas. But as requested by one of my subscribers, Mark Palmer, I appreciate you watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, and peace out. Till next time.